Alright, there's some exciting weather going on across the country as you can see Winter Storm Pearl moving through the Midwest and into the Northeast throughout the day today. There's also this massive temperature contrast where places in the Southeast are about 10 to 20 degrees above average, while places up here in the plains are about 10 to 20 degrees below average. You can check it out on this map. Florida is about 85 degrees, while places in Minnesota and North Dakota are in the teens. And that temperature contrast is going to just continue to move east as we move into the weekend. You're going to see that cold Arctic air start to work its way down into the Northeast, especially on Monday and Tuesday, where a major snowstorm is possible. I'll get into all of this throughout this video, but that's one of the big things we're looking at. That snowstorm that could be moving into the Northeast on Monday and Tuesday that should be bringing maybe a foot of snow to basically all the Northeast states. But the first thing we're going to look at is Winter Storm Pearl as it moves through the Midwest. That's what's going on right now. It's bringing really severe thunderstorms, extreme winds to basically the entire Midwest. In the more southern locations like Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, we're getting more of that rain component mixed with the extreme winds. And then farther north into Iowa and Minnesota and Wisconsin, we're getting a little bit of snow with this one, but really the big story is the extreme winds. Yesterday, I think the highest wind gust was in Oklahoma. They had 70 mile per hour winds, and Iowa yesterday had 2-inch hailstones. That's about, to put that in perspective, that's about between the size of a golf ball and a tennis ball. And that was in Iowa yesterday, and that's going to continue for the Midwest throughout the day today. As we move through, you see that snow builds into northern Michigan, where some decent accumulations are possible as you see those severe thunderstorms moving through Ohio. I believe just this morning, Ohio had already gotten 2 inches of rainfall associated with Winter Storm Pearl, and that's just going to continue throughout the day today. So the big story is extreme wind, major temperature contrasts, severe thunderstorms, hail, and you can really see it on this picture right here. It's kind of a combination of all those different things. You see the extreme winds, especially over the lakes, and then that temperature contrast where you can see 22 degrees in Wisconsin, and then just a little bit farther south, you're into 70 degrees in Columbus. So that's a pretty interesting part of this weather pattern that's happening throughout the day today. And one thing that's actually really cool, little tiny science lesson right here. If you're along the lakefront, that's where the wind damage is most likely going to be the strongest because there's no friction over a lake. In most places on the surface, you have trees, you have buildings, and that really dampens the wind. But if you're on a lakefront, there's nothing blocking that wind or dampening it. So that wind is going to be hitting really the lake shores right here at about maybe 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. And that's also a problem because it pushes the water, and that could lead to some flooding. We can also see some flooding from the major rain that's coming in, but really along the lakefront, that's where things can get serious. So Winter Storm Pearl is going to be moving through the Northeast throughout the day today. And when I say moving through the Northeast, I really mean moving above the Northeast. As I click through here, you'll see this low just a little bit too far north of New York to really get any snowfall with this one. The temperatures in here are just way too warm. We'll take a look at that in a second. But really the story for the Northeast with Winter Storm Pearl is the rainfall. This isn't the big snowmaker that's going to be moving in Monday and Tuesday. But you see, that's some severe rain. It's about 0.5 inches per hour building into New York throughout the day Friday. So this is really what's going on today. And then by Saturday morning, Winter Storm Pearl is gone, and nothing is really happening for the Northeast until Monday and Tuesday. I'll give you a little snapshot. That's what's going to be moving in. You see snow builds into all of Pennsylvania, all of New York, and then works its way into Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire. This is really bringing snow for everybody in the Northeast. It's great to see because you guys have really been missing out recently because it's been just so warm. With Winter Storm Pearl, you're not getting any snow because it's about 65 degrees in New York. Well, with this one, remember those cold Arctic temperatures worked their way south, with that temperature contrast moving across the country, and that's why you're getting some snow with this one. You're also getting some snow because this low is off the coast. So if you think about the counterclockwise circulation around a low, that's going to be bringing down the cold Arctic temperatures on the north and west side of this low, which is going to allow this snow. Just did a little rhyme there by accident. So this is Winter Storm Pearl. As I'll scroll down a little bit so you can see it up on the very upper right corner of the screen. That's Winter Storm Pearl, and look at the temperatures. It's 65 degrees in Massachusetts. Places in New York are 65 degrees as well. That's why there's no snow with this one. You will notice though those extreme winds. There's a high wind advisory for New York, as you could just see those gusts right there. That's going to be about 50 to 60 miles per hour throughout the day, Friday, and working its way into Saturday. That's the big story there, and again, right along the lakefront, where nothing is dampening those winds as they just move through and push up some of that water, possibly leading to some flooding along this New York shore. So this is the big picture of what it looks like, and this is a pretty awesome map. There's some extreme weather with it, so I maybe shouldn't use the word awesome, but it's a pretty cool map to look at. Up north, where the temperatures are colder, you got that snow, and then that Winter Storm Pearl that's going to be moving through the northeast. And then you notice this just huge strip of heavy rainfall and severe thunderstorms basically going from central Texas all the way up to New York. And that's really the story with this one. There's just a wave of thunderstorms stretching across that entire front that was separating the warm air and the cold air. And that's going to be a big story for the southeast as well, because these severe thunderstorms that you see and the heavy rainfall rates, it has already led to some flooding, and that's going to continue. Today, I'm glad to say, is not as much of a tornado threat as yesterday. I believe yesterday we had about 10 to 15 tornado warnings. I don't think anything really surfaced. There was some extreme wind damage, especially in Oklahoma, where there was 70 mile per hour wind gusts. But luckily today, tornadoes not as much of a factor. The factor is these extreme rainfall rates that you see building in through central to eastern Texas throughout the day today. This is looking at about right now, 7 a.m. Friday morning, and then those are actually going to intensify and move east throughout the day Friday. Working its way into 1 p.m. on Friday, you see those heavy rainfall rates, severe thunderstorms going from eastern Texas into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Now this has already led to some extreme flooding in northern parts of Texas, and I've got a good feeling, or a bad feeling, that flooding and flash flooding, extreme rainfall, that's going to continue for eastern Texas into northern Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama throughout the day today. Luckily by Saturday, it's basically gone. You can see this wave really move through the southeast, and yeah, by Saturday at about early Saturday morning, that rain's gone. So it's really a quick hitter. You can see the bulk of it hits Friday at about 1 p.m. We got that strip of extreme rain going from Texas all the way up into Alabama. And the reason for that is really because that warm air that's pushing in from the Gulf of Mexico, really bringing in a ton of moisture and clouds that will drop as rain and lead to some flooding. Something to watch there. Luckily, no tornado threat. The other big story with this one is that snowstorm that's going to be moving in after Winter Storm Pearl. So this is showing what the jet stream looks like right now. You can see you don't often see a jet stream that looks this strong. That's about as strong as it gets. That's working into the 160 to 170 knot range. That's about as strong as the jet stream ever gets. And that explains why the winds are so strong at the surface. I know what you're thinking, way up in the sky, who cares what the winds are doing way up there, but that energy propagates down, and that's why we have 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts on the surface. That's really the big story with Winter Storm Pearl, is the wind damage that we could be getting. There's some rain, some hail, but really the wind is the big story there. The other big thing going on is what's going to happen after Winter Storm Pearl. So this is moving into Saturday and Sunday, and it's interesting to look at this map because if you look at these lines, they're lines of constant pressure. It's called isobars, And whenever you see them this flat, it basically tells you no extreme weather is on the way, nothing's going to happen in the weather forecast. But you see this little dip in the jet stream starting to work its way in on Sunday. Now that little tiny dip, even right here it doesn't look that big, but that little tiny dip is going to intensify right as it hits the northeast. It's interesting to see it right there, tiny little bump. Right when it moves into the northeast, really starts to dip down. And that's what's bringing the snowstorm to the northeast on Monday and Tuesday. Let's look at that. This is early Monday morning. You can see the northeast, not really any precipitation. As we click through, that snow starts to build into northern Pennsylvania and western New York on Monday at about 1 in the morning. That's when this low starts to move into like West Virginia area. And then you see the snowfall basically covering all of Pennsylvania by Monday at about 7 a.m. And you start to see some of those heavier snowfall rates build in as well, as almost all of New York is covered by Monday at about 1 p.m. Basically all of New York is covered, all of Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut. This is going to be a pretty good snowstorm for you guys, and especially when this low moves off the coast. You can see right here it's still basically over West Virginia, bringing some really heavy rain to places like New Jersey, and then snow for the entire northeast. Well, then that low moves off the coast. And what this does is it checks the two boxes for if you're a snow lover in the northeast and you want some good accumulations. When it moves off the coast, that has these winds on the right side of the low really pushing in a ton of moisture and warm air that create clouds and precipitation. And then on the northern and western parts of the low, it's bringing that cold air down from Canada, which allows that precipitation to fall as snow. Winter Storm Pearl, no snow for the northeast because it's about 65 degrees. With this one, that low is east of you guys, east and south, so you are below freezing. That's going to allow the precipitation to fall as snow. How much are you going to get? Well, let's take a look. Like I said, by Monday morning, nothing for the northeast. And then already by Monday at 7 a.m., you're getting maybe 6 to 8 inches in parts of Pennsylvania, as western New York has already picked up maybe 1.5 inches. As we move through the day Monday by about 1 p.m., basically Pennsylvania, you're into the 9 inch to maybe a foot range. Well, basically all of New York has 2 to 4 inches. And then you continue to see it fill in, and those heavier accumulations really start to add up for eastern New York, where you're pretty much in the foot range at this point. Yesterday's model was actually showing a little bit more rain than this, but this is still looking like a pretty good snowstorm. Basically, all of eastern New York, all of central Pennsylvania, most of Vermont, all of southern New Hampshire, most of Massachusetts, even working its way into southern Maine a little bit. At least 7 inches with this one, maybe a foot in some places. If you want to stay updated with this storm, you could subscribe to my channel. I do forecast videos every single morning, and I will be following this storm closely, so you could check out my forecast playlist as well, where I've possibly already done another forecast video. Thanks for watching.